What is up, everybody? Welcome into Around the Felt. We got the Week 16 recap, which we're going to do a little bit about, and then we're going to get into the big action, the Week 17 predictions, a little bit of a fantasy football, championship primer, or hey, maybe you're in that third place game, or maybe you're just in the toilet bowl and you don't want to come in last. So we got it all for you. I'm your host, Reagan, here with my co-host, Mr. Colin. How are we doing?
Doing great, man. What a great weekend of football. Feels good. Holiday spirits around. That's why we're doing a bit of a makeshift pod this week. A quick little recap of the important games, and then diving into week 17 with Christmas midweek with games on Christmas. Difficult to get these predictions to you guys in time, so that's why we're doing it this way, but should be a fun one for sure.
Yeah, freaking game. Well, games. We have a game tonight. We're recording on a Monday, and then by the time we post this, it'll be Tuesday morning, and then Wednesday, we got a game at 1 o'clock. So there's not a lot of time to, do a recap and then have a predictions pod. So we got one pod. So let's do it.
One pod this week. We'll start with some news, man, and we're going to do a little bit of a makeshift, talk about the games and some important things from those games. So the Commanders, a monster win. Not just for this season, but for the franchise, it feels like. They get a win in the final 10 seconds over the Eagles. I understand the Eagles did not have Jalen Hurts for the majority of the game, left with a concussion, but Saquon Barkley was having his way with that Commanders defense, particularly in the first quarter, over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. But Jaden Daniels, after 2 early interceptions, was able to buckle down and lead them to that game-winning drive. Wow. I mean, all the talk today is about Jaden Daniels and how he is turning around this Commanders franchise. You don't want to say individually, but the impact that he is having, it's most directly applicable to Jaden Daniels. What a monster win for this Commanders team, man.
Oh yeah, major win. I mean, not only now they're, I don't know if they clinched a playoff berth, but they basically now completely control their destiny. I mean, that's a huge win. And the best part about it is we get to watch Jaden Daniels now on Sunday Night Football against Michael Penix. So, we get
Yes.
that rookie on rookie Week 17 Sunday Night Football matchup. So that should be awesome. But I mean, hey, we were talking about it last week, and Walmart was like, I'm not going to be talking Super Bowl till it happens. But you just beat one of the hottest teams, if not the hottest teams in football. And so what if Hurts got injured? I mean, at the end of the day, like they're still a good team, and what makes the Eagles like dominant is not him. He is one of the key pieces, but that team is still a juggernaut with or without him. And you got a big win. You did. So
Absolutely.
very impressed
Absolutely.
with how they, battled back after getting down, I believe, 14-0 early, and then, were able to battle back and score in the final seconds.
Huge win. Moving on. The Chiefs take care of Houston, an 8-point win. They did cover the spread. So there you go. Kansas City starting to fire on all cylinders at this point of the year, as they always seem to do. But the bigger storyline is with those Houston Texans. They were battling this game, but Tank Dell caught a big touchdown. Unfortunately, a pretty bad injury, dislocates his kneecap and tears his ACL, amongst some other damage. And they also lost Jimmy Ward for the season, one of the leaders in that defense. Brutal for Houston. They did claim Deontay Johnson off of waivers today to get some help. Now, Deontay Johnson's a bit of a wild card, as we all know. We'll see if maybe he doesn't want to play in the game. I don't know. Hopefully he does want to step into the game for Houston, but they need some wide receiver help. Obviously losing Diggs early in the season. Now Tank Dell. And this is a team that is trying to make a push deep into the AFC. We'll see if they can get it done, but with the key guys that they've lost, it's going to be difficult for Houston.
Yeah, I know they did obviously, well, not obviously, but like right before we started recording, they ended up bringing in Deontay Johnson. So very interesting how they're playing the Ravens this week, and they bring in a guy that was just there. But I think a
That
lot of it
is.
speaks
I
to,
didn't even think of
losing
that.
Tank Dell, and it's like, hey, this guy was such a key piece to us. We're already without Diggs. Now, Tank, it's tough in Houston. I mean, this team, with or without Tank Dell, I think is a first round exit, but this definitely just is not helping their case and is not going to help Stroud the more weapons he continues to lose.
No, certainly not. Maybe Robert Woods can turn back the clock a little bit. Mixon's been, a bit of a slow stretch the last couple games. We're going to need him to definitely pick it up over the stretch here. But, I mean, luckily for them, they already got the division on lockdown.
Yeah, for sure.
Michael Penix Jr. in his debut looked phenomenal. You can't just look at the box score here. Bijan took the touchdowns. The defense had a couple pick sixes off of Drew Lock, but Penix had a lot of zip on his ball. It jumped off the screen watching him play, and the throws that he could make in the intermediate deep part of the field with the velocity was very impressive. He did have the pick, but credit that one to Kyle Pitts. I mean, goddamn, dude. I think it's time you can write off Kyle Pitts now. He's just a bust. Not going to live up that draft status. Got to feel bad for Penix there. But hey, now the Falcons with that loss from Tampa Bay last night against Dallas, they control their own destiny in the NFC South. Both teams sitting at 8-7. Got it real interesting down the stretch. Tampa Bay did not have a difficult schedule down the stretch. They had the cards in their hands. And last night, man, that loss to Dallas really hurt them now, where they could be on the outside looking in the playoff picture.
Yeah. I didn't get to see most of the Falcons game, but obviously, they took care of business. I mean, this is one that I thought they would. The real test for, switching to Penix and that Falcons team will be Sunday night, like I was talking about earlier. Um, Now on the Cowboys Bucks side of things, I believe that was our big bet of the week.
It was.
And
Yep,
not
certainly was.
only did the Cowboys cover, but they dominated the Bucks. Just controlled the whole entire game. So
It's
my
tough. It could have got
friend,
dicey at the end because our spread was 4. Dallas won by 2. And Tampa Bay had that drive at the end where Rashad White got stripped by Deron Bland. If they would have scored, it could have gotten very interesting down the stretch where it almost, if you think about it, they would have scored. They would have been up by 4. Maybe they probably go for 2 there, right? To try to make it so that Dallas has to kick an extra point. We were almost in push range, which we could have sent Draw Christmas caroling, but unfortunately it did not happen.
this is true, but yes, like you said, unfortunately, well, actually, fortunately, it did happen. So, yeah, you will be Christmas caroling at some point next whenever you're back in Hoboken. You're going to be out in the streets, all dapper, singing along. So,
Yeah, I
best
got a
of
great
luck.
voice. So I do not. I certainly do not have a singing voice. Maybe I have a decent podcasting voice. I don't have a singing voice.
Yeah, and what was I gonna say? And then, yeah, I mean, with the Bucks, I mean, you just got to win that game. I mean, you still got an easy schedule left, and I could totally see the Falcons losing this weekend. And it's like, no harm, no foul. But the way the Panthers have been playing, I mean, you can't underestimate them. I mean, the last time they played each other, it went to overtime. So, and that was one that surprised me that the line was, I believe, 9 points. I
Yeah,
could be
dude, that's
wrong
a
on that.
fat spread. And that's after Carolina just took care of business with Arizona.
And they've consistently been taking care of business. I believe it was 9. I could be thinking of a different game, but hold on. Eight points. So
8 points is
still,
still a lot, dude, especially for a divisional game. And they just went and upset Arizona. They scored 36. Bryce Young really coming into his own now, where it's like, okay, you can feel good about a Panthers fan moving into next year with Bryce Young as your quarterback.
yeah, no, Bryce looked great again. Obviously he's not putting like off the charts numbers up, but he definitely looks legit. I think him and Canales, are safe for next year for sure. There's no way they draft a guy. There's no way they move on from him. It seems like even with 4 wins, this has been a major success for the Panthers and something to build off of for the future because they were kind of one of those teams where it was like, if this year doesn't work out, you mortgage your future for a guy that you're moving on from 2 years after the fact.
Would have been very difficult, but at least they can keep their quarterback in place and continue to build around him. Moving on, Brock Bowers becomes the 3rd rookie tight end to reach 1,000 yards. The last guy to do that, Kyle Pitts, right? So we're not
Great
going to
company.
compare him to we're not going to compare him to Kyle Pitts. The other guy, Mike Ditka, in that conversation. Bowers is the first to hit 100 catches, though. I mean, not a lot of positives for the Raiders. If you want to say them taking care of Jacksonville this weekend was a positive, I know a lot of Raiders fans would disagree with that because now
I
they
don't know if
drop
any
all the way
would.
down to what is it? There's picking 6th or 7th now in the
Yeah,
draft when they
there's a
really
lot of
need a
3 wins.
quarterback. Therefore, my Giants are now in the driver's seat for the first overall pick, the only team in the league with 2 wins. I was looking at the board. I'm like, damn, I feel like this year it's very top heavy and bottom heavy compared to other years where you're going to have a team like either the Vikings or the Lions with potentially 14 wins as the 5 seed, right? But then you have at the bottom of the draft board 6 teams with 3 wins, the Giants with 2. Like usually they're not that bad at the bottom. You can have like a 6-7 win team picking 8th or 9th overall. Very top heavy and bottom heavy this year.
Yeah, it's actually crazy, like how top and bottom heavy it is. I don't even know, man. Like, who do you want, Shador? Like,
I personally want Shador. I think Shador has the best arm talent in the draft. Now, the biggest thing for Shador that I'm reading right now is he's going to have to do well in those interviews, right? You know, he's cocky. He comes from the Deion Sanders tree, and they just operate a little bit differently over there in Colorado than some other top quarterbacks. I'm seeing a lot of people, though, that have the Giants penciled in to take Cam Ward number one. I'm seeing reports the Giants love Cam Ward. But then again, like, the Giants have went and seen Sanders practice at Colorado. They flew their guys out there to see several Colorado games. So they're definitely doing their due diligence. Then again, is this regime even the ones making the pick, right? That's what we
I
don't
don't
know.
think so. I hope not. They shouldn't be. I like it. You're literally just setting yourself up for failure because if it is in fact the same regime and it doesn't change next year, which it probably won't, because whatever quarterback comes into the situation is it's going to be a tough couple of years because they have a lot of holes. So they're probably going to move on, and then it's just going to be like the same spot Caleb Williams is in now, the same spot multiple Jets quarterbacks have been in, the same spot a lot of these teams put their quarterbacks in, where you bring them in, and then by their second year, they're already on a new coach, a new coordinator, and a new GM. So I would like the Giants to just clean house and get the coach and let them coach and GM pair them up and let them get their guy. But that's also a spot I wouldn't want to be in as a fan. Like, I'm honestly happy that I know the Jets probably won't be taking a quarterback anyway, but I would hate to be at the top because in this draft class, there's no clear cut guys. So no matter what, like, you're gonna have to live with the fact if one of the guys later on is better, and it's just like, we chose this guy over that guy. You almost,
I know it's
I hate
certainly a
that.
difficult situation for many reasons. I think Dayball is gone. Like, this is the
He should
100th
be.
season in franchise history. They had
He
this
lost the
whole
locker
thing
room,
planned
bro.
for the season. All the like each game they have these different bobbleheads of legends are given out, and it was a big thing for them. 100th season. They started with a playoff win. Dayball won Coach of the Year. Then they got substantially worse. This year, it's embarrassing. It's the worst season in the franchise history, right? You've continuously regressed the past 3 years. We're not seeing progress. I think Dayball and Shane should be gone. I don't think what Shane has put on the field this year, you could justify him staying and letting him pick another coach, because then it could be a shit show for another year or two. You ruin another quarterback, and you got to clean house anyways. You're keeping a lot of those Shane people in the front office, right? At this point, I would prefer to clean house. And you see how well a lot of players Joe Shane let go are playing around the league. Not even Saquon Barkley, that one's obvious, but McKinney doing what he's doing, Leonard Williams, Julian Love for Seattle leading that defense. A lot of players he let go are having like amazing seasons, and the cherry on top will be when Saquon Barkley breaks the rushing record against the Giants in Week 18, right? Like, that's just going to be the bow, I think, on Joe Shane's career as the Giants general manager. I would clean house, come in with a new regime, let them take their quarterback and give them a runway. Now, the counter argument is, okay, you gave these guys 5 years. They did win a playoff game their first year. We don't know what happened inside the building if John Mara wanted Daniel Jones and he was pushing to sign him. But then again, I don't think that happened because John Mara was clearly pushing for Saquon Barkley and they didn't re-sign Saquon Barkley. And I think that was a more important player in John Mara's mind because he did say, like, oh, that's our most popular player by far. He's thinking it from a business perspective as well. So I don't think that happened, but there's always the off chance that did happen. And you're like, okay, like, let these guys take their quarterback. They still have 2 years under the contract. Give them 2 more years with a rookie quarterback this year and next year and see if it starts to turn. I don't know. I'm happy I'm not the one making the decision. If it were me, I would get rid of Shane and Dable, and you got to take your quarterback. And there's 2 guys, but a lot of people, I mean, it's tough because last year's class, I know Penix played 1 game, but Caleb Williams, all the shit that he's getting, and the Bears have been terrible, but you look at Caleb Williams' stats, still 3,300 passing yards, 21 touchdowns, 5 picks, hasn't thrown a pick in over 320 pass attempts. You see progress from Caleb Williams. You understand his ceiling. Jaden Daniels, home run. Drake May looks like a stud. Bo Nix looks like a stud, right? McCarthy hasn't played yet, but you have to feel pretty good about McCarthy with his tools playing under Kevin O'Connell, looking at what he's doing with Sam Darnold. Penix, 1 game, I get it, but just the natural arm talent looks good. Sanders and Ward might.
Even Spencer Rattler tonight is going to put on a clinic.
We'll see about that one, buddy. But
300 yards. Book it.
people would say Sanders and Ward are not as good of prospects as McCarthy was. And McCarthy was the 5th quarterback taken in last year's draft. So here we are again. The last time the Giants were in the market, really in a strong position to take a quarterback where they could. Granted, last year they could have taken Bo Nix. They could have taken Michael Penix. They could have taken J.J. McCarthy. They did not. They took Malik Neighbors. They felt safer about that. The last time they took Daniel Jones in a not very good quarterback class. It feels like that again. I'm hoping whoever they take, they got to hit. They have to hit because it's been a brutal stretch as Giants fans, and we might be in a tough spot for another couple years. That's my take on it.
Hey, I respect it. Well, only time will tell. We'll see in the offseason, but we have a lot of time to talk hypotheticals and debates and all that stuff once, the draft board is clear and the offseason is underway.
100%. Continuing with the games that we want to recap, the Chargers took care of Denver 34-27. Nice little comeback here. Really strengthened their position in the wild card race in the AFC. Monster win. I know we're both in the Chargers here. Didn't look pretty initially, but hey, Justin Herbert and the boys got it done. Huge one for LA. I did not expect it to be this high scoring, but it was a fun game to watch.
Yeah, no, it was a really fun game to watch. And, the Chargers really battled back after getting down early. But I was impressed with Herbert. I was, because if you really look at, both teams, like they're just good. They win games and they beat the teams they're supposed to. Because I think they were saying before this game, like neither team had a lot of wins against teams with winning records, but they just don't lose those games they're not supposed to lose. And that's the biggest thing because both of these teams are going to be tough outs come playoff times with how good their defenses are. So I don't know. It'll be interesting, but ultimately the Chargers beat the Broncos now both times, so they sweep the season series.
Huge, really huge for them. Both teams at 9-6 now. Chargers control their destiny for their seeding in the wild card race. Monsters. I still think both teams will get in, but still this is a big win. Moving on, Baltimore monster win over Pittsburgh. Both teams now 10-5 in the AFC North. 34-17. This was an ass beating, and Lamar Jackson, man. I mean, what can you say? Josh Allen, everyone was writing him in as the MVP, and I felt like rightfully so. But now, after this win from Lamar Jackson, if you look at their stat lines, Lamar better. He has a career high in touchdown passes this year. He's been both guys have been flawless in the turnover category. I think Josh Allen still gets my pick, given about what's around him compared to Lamar Jackson. But nevertheless, huge win for Baltimore and a tough stretch of the season for them coming up. They got a big matchup on Christmas Day. But yeah, still, this is a big win for Baltimore.
Yeah, they seem like they're going to win the division. I know Pittsburgh still technically does have it because they split the series, but I think Pittsburgh will lose on Christmas. I think Baltimore will win on Christmas, and it'll be a repeat. Ravens Chiefs winners on Saturday, Ravens Chiefs winners on Wednesday. But we'll get into that in a little bit. But, definitely the Ravens just dominated and kind of showed why Vegas had them as such big favorites in this one. They did not disappoint. And Henry, he's back and he did horse Henry things. Let's not forget, like in the winter, he heats up. The colder it gets, the better he gets. So
yeah, no one wants to tackle that dude. And
I think
Pittsburgh, dude, that run defense is no slouch, dude. That's a really good run defense. And Derrick Henry, it doesn't matter. He's just better than you.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be my parlay leg for we're gonna do a Christmas parlay. Garrett will make a graphic and put it out, but I think I'm gonna do Henry rushing yards, whatever it is, because he historically, has gone off against the Texans, and
He
it's in the
has.
dome.
He has.
And I think it's gonna be close. I don't see, Baltimore trailing much in this game, so I think he's gonna have plenty of opportunities. I'm sure the line will be around 80 or 90 yards. I'm comfortable with even at 100, but I think he goes over 100 again and keeps that streak going. Actually, I'm gonna look right now. But yeah, we'll have a good parlay cooked up. Garrett will have a cool graphic because come on now, it's the Christmas season. It's the season of giving locks.
Absolutely. And hey, guys, big dogs did not hit this week, but I feel a little bit better this week compared to the last 2 months. We hit 3 out of 4 in the long shot. I had $100 to win $9,000, so that would have been really cool. Darnell Mooney did not get it done for us. Bijan Robinson took the touchdowns, 2 pick sixes, but hitting on JSN at plus money was nice. Laporta, when Detroit took care of Chicago pretty handily, that little trick play where they faked the fumble and the stumble, and Laporta caught that one. I was pumped when that happened. And then we hit McMillan in the night game too. So that was That was nice. We're a lot closer. I think I might stick with the long shot play this upcoming weekend.
It looks like Henry's line is at 88.5. So I like that.
I like that too. All right, Reagan, we do have some questions from Austin, but before we get into them, let's just recap the records for the week. Not as strong for me here. You had a pretty solid week against the spread, going 8-6-1, 9-6 straight up. I went 6-8-1 against the spread, 10-5 straight up. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
I hate that I picked the Packers because I feel very like over the weekend and just thinking about it, I'm like all Saints tonight, and that might be because of my fantasy matchup, but I don't know. I did switch, and I'm in a spread pool too, and I'm tied with a couple kids right now, and I'm like, you know what, I got to go with the Saints. I feel like everyone's going to be taking the Packers, so I don't know.
well, I got
Yeah.
17 games on you, so if you want to try to get one back here and switch to New Orleans, you can. I'll allow it. I'll allow it.
Oh, amazing! All right, give me I'm only taking spread though. I'm not taking money line. I'm not that
All right.
crazy. All right.
I just changed it for you. You got New
Ah,
Orleans on the
thank
spread.
you. Thank you.
Money line
Thank
would be
you.
crazy, bro. They're 14.5-point dogs.
I mean, I did have a boost. It was on DraftKings. They were doing some new promo, so I had a 10% same game profit boost, max $10 bet. So I did Saints money line with MVS first touchdown because the wheels MVS. So
Yeah.
10 to win like 960.
Oh my God. That'd be
But
great.
shout out Griffin, Mr. GM Light himself. If you're in the horrors, check him out. But he had a very electric wheel spin. Gave some laughs in his nice Christmas sweater.
Oh yeah. That was a great spin. That was a phenomenal spin.
So
G, friend of the program.
yeah, just bringing the energy. We had some good people spin the wheels. We didn't hit any, but we definitely the energy did not lack the past couple wheel spins. They've definitely been there.
100%. All right. We got some questions from Austin.
What we
The
got
only one
on
that submitted
C.
this week. Who was the best team in week 16, in your opinion, Reagan?
Probably the Ravens, man. I mean, they just dominated on all facets. I mean, the run game was just in full effect here. Lamar was having his way. I mean, that's the Gonti Steelers defense that, everyone was kind of saying, like, could they be the best in the league? I mean, they're definitely top five. Didn't show up, and Baltimore offensively had their way with them. And even defensively, I mean, they've struggled a lot, especially the secondary. And I know the Steelers didn't have George Pickens in this one. So you got to, factor that in. But at the end of the day, the Ravens really just controlled the whole entire game, and in a must-win game to keep themselves in the AFC North division race, they got it done. So they were the most impressive team to me in Week 16.
Yeah, mine kind of leads into the next question from Austin. What player had the biggest performance? It's Jaden Daniels and the biggest win, the Washington Commanders, not just from where it positions them in the wild card race for this season, but just from an organizational standpoint, a team that's felt like they've been in the dumps for so long now, to finally have the answer and to know you have it and to know that your window is open. Not necessarily going to win the Super Bowl this year, but your window has opened. This was a game against the Philadelphia Eagles that have been so dominant in your own division that you were able to have that comeback win, scoring 22 points in the fourth quarter. It's just a franchise-changing game. So I got to give a shout-out to the Washington Commanders and Walmart because I know how much they've suffered, and it is really cool to see for that fan base. From a different standpoint, I'll go with the Cincinnati Bengals just because there's still a chance they make the playoffs. And it's like every year with Cincinnati, slow start, but this year it felt like it was insurmountable. They weren't be able to get it done. And they've been scorching hot. Now, I know it was DTR and the Browns. And look, at least the Bengals defense showed up for one game, right? Where maybe they get some momentum that
Yeah.
they can build off of for the next 2 weeks because they can still make it in. They got to win out. I think they need Denver to lose to Kansas City.
Yeah, they do. They need to win out, and they play Denver this week. So winning this week will give them to the head-to-head, and then they have to just win Week 18. I believe they play the Ravens or no, they play the Steelers Week 18. So they need to win their next two, and then they need the Broncos to obviously lose to them. And then
And I
Week
think the
18 they would
Colts
lose.
can't. The Colts have to lose one game too, I believe.
I
I
don't
think it's
know
one of those teams.
because
I think I saw like one of the Colts or another team, like maybe it was Miami at the time, like can't win out. Miami lost, but Indianapolis beat Tennessee, and I know they're the Giants this week. I don't know who Indy has week 18. If they have Houston, that could be huge for Cincinnati.
yeah, it'll be weird because I think because the Colts did lose to the Broncos. I think the Colts only can get in with the Chargers losing out. I think is how it works because the Broncos beat the Colts, so they have the head-to-head. So I think the only way the Colts make it is with that being factored in.
Yep.
I actually maybe not. I don't know. Maybe because they have the conference record.
Yeah, I definitely
Oh, they
saw
do.
it.
They have the conference record. That's why. So they would need the Colts to lose one too. Because if the Colts went out, they would have. I don't know because that's.
They'd both be 9
I
and
don't know.
8, but they might have the
Yeah, but
conference
so would the
record.
Broncos, and the Broncos would have the head-to-head. The Colts must only get in it with something with the Chargers, I think.
Yeah, it's gonna be wild the last 2 weeks, but you're
And
saying there's a
Miami's still
chance.
floating around too.
You're saying there's a chance for my $8,000 ticket for the Lions to beat the Bengals in the Super Bowl. You're saying there's a chance. Hold it on for dear life. Moving on. Best game from week 16. I mean, I'm just gonna go back to Commanders Philadelphia. I don't know how you can't pick that one with 10 seconds left, game-winning touchdown. You know what I mean? Like it's just too good. I mean, you can go with Seattle, Minnesota. Sam Darnold just continues to get it done for that team. I don't know how you could just let him walk. I mean, you're at 13-2. You know what I mean? I don't know, but that was another really fun game. 27-24 Minnesota win.
Yeah, my favorite was the Jets Rams. Very cold, very high scoring.
I felt so bad for you. I was sitting there on my warm couch next to the fire, and my pops is like, "You should send a picture of this to Reagan." I'm like, Reagan called me earlier. He's like, "Dude, can you post this because I can't feel my hands?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, I got it." But geez, you're I'll give it to you, man. You're a diehard fan to go sit in that cold for a game that means absolutely nothing for your Jets, and what, they put up 9 points.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, we booked the tickets a while ago, so I wouldn't consider me diehard. It's just I already paid the money, so it's kind of like, do I want to
You're not
just
gonna take
not
the loss
go and
on
lose
them.
out on 100 and something dollars, whatever we paid? Like, no. But yeah, well, I'm diehard, yeah. But no, the Cardinals Panthers was another great game. I mean, looking at it coming in, it was like, will that be that good? But I mean, 36-30 overtime game. Both teams getting a crack at it in overtime. Ultimately, Chuba Hubbard gets the game-winning touchdown. We saw some big plays. Panthers got up early. Cardinals were able to battle back, but just overall a good game for a game for the Panthers that really only matters from development. And then the Cardinals, you had to win this game. Like they just got eliminated from losing this game, so the Cardinals
Yep.
are out. Like what a brutal loss. Uh, Still, I still think Trey McBride will score against the Rams. Like I said a couple weeks ago, I said they're going to be prime time against the Cardinals Saturday night. Sure enough, I was correct. The NFL announces they're going to be playing Saturday night, so I am hoping that wheel spin is Trey McBride because it's so due. So
It is
due.
very due. I'm done with
Both
Kyler Murray. Traded
the
him in
wheels
every
do
league.
like Trey McBride's do.
It is. It is very due. What team had the worst performance from Week 16? You can argue Arizona getting eliminated, losing to the lowly Carolina Panthers. I would certainly argue Tampa Bay losing to Dallas, although Dallas has been a hot team the past month plus. So it's just the fact that Tampa Bay controlled their own destiny, which kind of makes me lean that way.
Oh, you're done. Okay. I mean, I like both options on that one. I mean, because a lot of games, like, you know, I don't know.
That seem to be the two for me that really stand out.
Yeah, because a lot of them, there were so many meaningless games at this point. Yeah, I'll go with I'll go with the Cardinals just because you get eliminated and you beat a bad or you lost to a bad team. Where at least at the end of the day, you can give the Bucks are still playing Dallas and Dallas is a good team. Like that Bengals game goes differently. They're really still alive. I know technically they're not out. They're not going to make it. I think there's just not enough time. But like their punt returner doesn't do that stupid or the punt block doesn't go the way it does, and they win that game. And they're like, hey, we're looking at
Yeah.
a hot Dallas team, and they are a hot Dallas team. They've been playing really well recently. So I don't fault the Bucks for losing that game. I think they're very similar to your teams. It's just you have a different feeling about the Bucks because they may win their division where the Cowboys have one less win. They're just in a hard division. So of course they seem like they're a worse team, but they're really very even with the Bucks. So I'm going with the Cardinals here.
Yeah, and they've been rolling with Cooper Rush for the last
Yeah.
2 months as well.
We
You know what I
should
mean?
put some
So
respect on his name.
you
Like
kind
he's
of
been
have to
playing
at
good
this point.
football. And he
This team
wins.
has played better with Cooper Rush than Dak Prescott. Now, granted, they did lose Micah Parsons early in the year. They didn't have Deron Bland, like whatever. But still, Cooper Rush is putting this team in a position to win games. And CeeDee Lamb, I mean, you got
He
to give
is a
him a shout
winner,
out as
bro.
well.
He is. Cooper Rush is a winner. I think his record's now like 11-2 or like I mean 11-3. Like he definitely is a very high win percentage right now in like a limited sample size, but he wins football games.
For sure. All right, Reagan, before we get into week 17, do you want to update the Felters on your fantasy performances this past weekend?
Yeah, so I have lost one league. I was in with Colin. The team, Jalen Hurts gets hurt, so I'll be playing for third place. Then in another one, I won handedly. Uh, you know, some of the big studs stepped up in the Dynasty Superflex, and then in my most important league left, where I'm the defending champion, I am beating Jacob Batoff, friend of the program, by 19.4. So the only way I lose is if the Green Bay Packers put up 20 or more tonight against the Saints. Hence why I'm a big Saints fan. We'll see. Spencer Rattler just take care of business. No pick sixes. No pick sixes.
I could see
Uh,
it getting really dicey in the second half where he does throw a pick six or there's a strip sack for a touchdown. It's like, all right, the Packers have 17, and here we go. Can they force another turnover?
yeah. And on top of that, I mean, I also decided, to go with Rico Dowdle, who got 6 over
You were
Jonathan Taylor,
talking
who had
about it. I was like, oh, man.
39. So it wouldn't even be a matchup right now, but I left, that's a 33-point swing. Batoff's not getting 50 some points from the Packers defense, but now it's a matchup. So I like my chances still. It's a huge ass 20 because he needs. It's the league where defenses can't get like point anything, so it's got to be an even 20. I'm up 19.4. So hey, I know my mark. So let's go. Let's put some points up, Saints. It'll be tough. But I'm ready. What about you though? What about you?
Yeah, so I was in 4 semifinals of my 5 leagues. I lost, unless Josh Jacobs gets 36 points tonight. I did lose in the Dynasty League in which Reagan's defending champ to another Around the Felt member, my brother Zach. So that's a tough one. We were watching the games.
Ooh.
We were watching the games yesterday on the couch, and he's like, "Oh, I'm screwed because I was projected to win by 30." My team was coasting along, but the likes of Keenan Allen, James Conner, really Justin Jefferson with a 36 bomb, and I was like, I need Jefferson to. That's when it was like really close projection wise, and I was like, I need Jefferson to like chill. But I also have him in another league where it was close, so it was a tough back and forth there, give and take. Jefferson did not chill. He had 140 and 2 touchdowns, so that was really fun. So I'm going to lose that one. My 2 most important big money leagues I care the most about, my 2 dynasty leagues, I'm out. But I'm in the finals in the other 3 leagues that I'm in. One of them's a dynasty league. Luke Martirana, friend of the program. We're in his league. Reagan and I matching up in the finals, just how we drew it up.
Yeah.
We were putting in the group chat today, like, Around the Felt runs this league. Tune in for some fantasy advice. I like that.
Well, if history repeats itself, I will beat you by less than a point for the 3rd time this year.
He did beat me by less than a point twice. And what's crazy is if that didn't happen, I would have had the bye. He would not have. But hey, my boys still battle. We're still in this position. So it'll be a
Yeah, it
fun
may
one.
not have
Then
mattered
I'm in.
anyway. Like, you know what I mean? We may have still like met anyway.
No, I think we probably would have because I think we're the 2 highest scorers this week. So
Yeah,
it
I
would
don't know how it would have fared last week, but
yeah. And then I'm in the finals in both my redraft leagues. One of them's my former employer league. Still great relationship with those guys. Don't talk too much anymore, but it's kind of funny that I've hung up 190 this week and made it to the finals, so I'm hoping to win that.
is that a money league? Like, are you gonna get
Yeah.
paid, or are they just gonna be
No,
like,
yeah,
"Fuck you,
no, it's
dude"?
a money league. And when I was leaving the firm, I was like, hey man, like, if you want me to just bench my team, like, I completely understand. And the guy, Alex, great dude, he's like, nah, dude, your team's awesome. Like, you put the money in, so might as well play it out. I'm like, all right, cool. And I guess he thought I was going to be in this position. That team is really dominant, so we'll see. So I'm in 2 redrafts, 1 dynasty. My 2 big dynasties I'm not in, though. But hey, I'll take a 3 out of 5 in the championship any day, any year. You can't ask for much more.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. We got 2 games on Christmas Day. I did have some people kind of asking, hey, why are there 2 games on Saturday with the college football playoffs? Well, the reason being the NFL wants to take Christmas Day away from the NBA, and they have. And that's why we have the same 4 teams that played Saturday are meeting up on Christmas Day. But we got Kansas City at Pittsburgh in the 1:00 game. The Chiefs 14-1. Sitting pretty for that number 1 seed. I guess Mahomes' ankle really wasn't bad at all. They just like to, over exaggerates in Kansas City, I guess, because Mahomes did score the first touchdown scrambling on Saturday. They're 14-1. Steelers 10-5 after losing to Baltimore. Pittsburgh's 5-1 at home, though, so this is definitely a tough place to play for Kansas City. The Chiefs still are the favorites, though, at 3 points with a 43.5-point total. Where are you going with this one? Defending champs? It's hard to bet against them right now.
Yeah, no, I'm going with the Chiefs on this one, dude. I'm taking them to cover. I'm taking them to win here. It's a low line, which is expected because I mean the Steelers are at home. It's tough to play in Pittsburgh always. It's never an easy out. Like you just said, they're 5-1 at home this year. But yeah, I ultimately went with the Chiefs. I was really impressed with how they played at Houston, and it seems like guys are starting to get healthy. They've gotten back Pacheco, and they now got back Hollywood Brown, so they're getting healthy at the right time offensively. So things are starting to click, and I think they're getting into their playoff form where they'll probably end up going 15-2 this year because they'll tank the last week of the season or bench everybody the last week of the season, the rest. But they seem primed to go back to the Super Bowl and be repeat champs right now. They're starting to come around at the right time.
Yeah, I'm going to take Kansas City as well. I both teams have phenomenal defenses, but although I have not loved what I've seen from Pacheco since he got back, you tell he's a little rusty. The run game has not been there for Kansas City, but Hollywood Brown looked good on Saturday. I was really pleased with that. I took him 20 yards at plus money. I was like, are you kidding me? 20 yards? Like, he's definitely going to have at least one or two. And he did play really well. You still got D-Hop. Xavier Worthy also looked good. Kelsey didn't even do much, but now you're starting to feel pretty good about these weapons that Mahomes has at his disposal. And the offensive line was really good against Houston. So I still think they're going to struggle a little bit with TJ Watt at right tackle, but they're still going to get the job done here. Mahomes just too good. Russell Wilson's going to struggle. Najee Harris is going to struggle. I do think it's a low-scoring game, but give me Kansas City here on the road.
Hey, let's go. Let's go.
4:30 game. Baltimore at Houston. Another really fun one. The Ravens 10-5. Houston at 9-6. Baltimore's a 5.5-point favorite with a 46.5 total here. That's a decently wide spread, and for a team the caliber of Houston, but there's just something about the Baltimore Ravens where in these games they do have the ability to blow anyone out, it seems, besides Kansas City. So that's kind of where I'm going with here. I think Baltimore's going to win by 2 scores. What do you think?
Wait, you think Baltimore's going to win by 2 scores?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I saw you at Houston in the dock. Okay.
Oh. That's a typo.
I was going to say I was about to be offered to make that our big bet of the week, but I guess not. I think the Ravens,
No,
win in
typo.
dominant fashion here.
Typo.
I was saying it earlier with Henry. I just think this run game is going to be too much for Houston. Houston just is the benefactor of being in a bad division where, if they were in a lot of different divisions, I don't think they'd be nearly as good as their record shows. So I don't believe in this team. I think they can put up points. I think this will be high scoring, but I think ultimately, like Colin said, it'll end up being a 2-score game because Baltimore just has too much firepower on offense for Houston to handle.
Yeah, especially with losing Tank Dell here. This is going to be another game, I think, where Joe Mixon's going to struggle. And it's tough for Joe Mixon fantasy holders. He's been so good all year, but just his last 3 games, the stretch of teams that he had to play are all elite run defenses, and Baltimore is another elite run defense, right? So it's going to have to be C.J. Stroud and Nico Collins, and then some Dalton Schultz, I think, for Houston to stay in this game. My pick might be Nico Collins yards if you're going Henry, because we're seeing a similar game script here where Baltimore's up, they're running the football. Houston playing from behind. It is indoors, and who are you going to throw to? The corpse of Robert Woods? Deontay Johnson, he just picked up, or are we going to pump the ball to Nico Collins 15 times? So I think Nico Collins would be my pick here, but yeah, I got the Ravens in this one. I love that we have a Thursday night game too. I was like, hold on, with 2 Christmas games, do we still have a Thursday? And yes, we do. That's my family holiday party, so I'll be camped on the couch watching this game, even though it's not the sexiest one, but Seattle at 8-7 at the 4-11 Chicago Bears. Seattle 3.5-point favorite, a 43.5-point total here. Bears, they're on a crazy losing streak. I think it's 8 in a row now, but
yeah,
they're still a fun team to watch. Caleb still does some crazy things back there. The passing game's been firing. I mean, Keenan Allen's kind of taken over the number 1 role. We're starting to see some more out of Rome Odunze, which I like to see. And, Kenneth Walker's a little beat up for Seattle here. Can make things interesting. Charbonnet might be a smash play against Chicago. We just saw what Jahmyr Gibbs did against that defense. But where are you leading this one? I know you hate the Seahawks, but the Bears with 8 losses.
I lean the Bears, man. The Bears are getting the win. They're ending this streak. At the end of the day, a lot of people will be like, oh, the Bears will roll over. But they got a lot of young guys there. they're not going to roll over. Like Caleb's still playing well. The Lions did just destroy him, but it's the freaking Lions, And then their past 2 losses, like yes, they've gotten destroyed bad against the Lions and Vikings. Those are 13-win teams. I don't think Seattle's nearly as good. I think it's just going to be a close game. I think the spread is pretty spot on here, but I feel confident that the Bears can get an upset win here. I really do, and I think the Seattle Seahawks season ends before the day after Christmas.
Yeah, this one's tough for me. I don't love the hook with the 3.5 for Seattle, but at the end of the day, they have something to play for. The Bears don't. And I still think with the way their offense has been playing, JSN, DK Metcalf finally caught a touchdown after, I think, since October. So it was a long stretch for him. The Seattle Seahawks offense, I think, will do enough against a Bears team that I feel like they just get in their own way. They're stopping themselves from winning games. They still have to learn how to win. And I just can't buy into it right now. I wish this was 2.5 because I could totally see the Seahawks winning by 3 points and it being a close one, another heartbreaking loss for Chicago. But I just can't back them with how they've looked the past 2 months. So give me the Seahawks, get it done.
Ooh, you want to make it the big bet?
You want to use that as our big bet? I'll do it. I'll definitely do that as a big bet.
I would. We got to figure out what it's going to be. I mean, it would be, nice to do some sort of, Christmassy themed thing because we'll probably be together at some point this weekend to watch the games or something. So maybe we'll get the punishment done then. I feel like it would be good to do a peppermint Smirnoff.
Something like peppermint, something cinnamon. I know you've done too much Fireball, but something in the holiday spirit.
Maybe peppermint Smirnoff, something with that.
Yeah, we'll dabble around with it. We'll hash out the details, but I like the peppermint play here.
The peppermint Smirnoff. We'll see how it goes.
I mean, peppermint's all right. You kind of feel like you did some mouthwash after, but
yeah, I mean, we did the eggnog one already. That was a good one. I'm trying to think. I mean, we could look up different Christmas drinks that you have to house.
Yeah, we'll house it. Be very alcoholic. It'll be disgusting. So that's what we'll do. That's what we'll do. Yeah. And we have 3 games on Saturday, my friend. I mean, this is awesome.
A lot of wheel spins coming.
A lot of wheel spins. We got 5 games we could do, and then that doesn't even count Sunday. So
or Monday. 7 wheel spins. 7 of the 16 games will have wheel spins.
And we got Monday, dude. This is great. 2 games Wednesday, a game Thursday, 3 Saturday. Start us off Saturday. Chargers at 9-6 at the 3-12 Patriots. Chargers a 4.5-point favorite. 42.5-point total. Patriots just battled those Buffalo Bills pretty damn hard. And for a guy that had Bills minus 2.5 in their teaser, that was not a fun game to watch. But ultimately, the Bills did win by 3. They covered. That was a divisional matchup, though. Do you feel confident? I know the Patriots just covered a 14.5-point spread, but they did cover a 4.5 spread against Buffalo. Are you confident enough that they can cover 4.5 against the Chargers?
I am. I mean, I think at the end of the day, the Chargers are going to be coming from the West Coast. It ain't cold there. Well, it's cold up in Foxborough. So I think, it's going to be one of those grinded out type of games for the Chargers. They're not going to just come and dominate them. I think the Patriots, have enough firepower. And, we just saw what they were able to do to Buffalo. They were able to hang around all game. So I like the Chargers to kind of win here where it comes down to the wire, where, they're either getting the field goal to win the game or, the Patriots have a drive at the end and it's, backdoor cover with 30 seconds left to, make the game within 3. And then it's the onside kick that doesn't work out. But I do think, 4.5 is a little high for this line. So give me the points on the Patriots, but the Chargers ultimately get the win.
I'm going to take the Chargers to cover the 4.5. What does worry me is the way the Chargers defense has looked the past 2 weeks, letting up 37 to Tampa Bay and then 27 to Denver. However, this Patriots offense is not on the level of those other 2 offenses, where I'm going to go with what I've seen all season from the Chargers opposed to just the past 2 weeks. I think their defense will suffocate Drake May here. Drake might make some big time throws. I mean, he did drop one in the bucket this past weekend where I was like, God damn. That's why the dude was picked 3rd overall. Beautiful deep ball down the sideline. But I see less of that happening here. This Patriots offensive line is brutally bad, arguably the worst in football, and this Chargers pass rush has been really good this year. So give me Justin Herbert. He doesn't give a shit about the elements. Justin Herbert's a beast. I mean, if you haven't heard, go watch some Jim Harbaugh clips and let him explain how big of a beast Justin Herbert is. Better quarterback, better team. meaningful game for them. Give me the Chargers, -4.5. Moving on, Denver at 9-6 on the road at the 7-8 Cincinnati Bengals. If this game was played a month ago, there's no way in hell the Bengals would be favored, but they are by 3.5 here, a 49.5-point total, a high total given how highly we think of this Denver defense. But honestly, this Bengals offense can hang points on anybody. Burrow and Chase, matchup proof. Chase Brown did not score this past weekend, but still had another awesome game. T. Higgins got in the end zone. The Bengals are firing on all cylinders right now. Maybe they could build something off of that defensive performance this past weekend. It'll be a tougher test with Bo Nix coming into town. Who do you think gets this one?
Yeah, I ultimately went with the Bengals. I mean, they've been playing better, but I also just think it's going to be tough for. I think if this becomes a shootout, which I think it will. Ultimately, I don't know if the Broncos have the firepower offensively to keep up with it. So I'm taking the Bengals to win and cover here. I think this one gets, out of hand and it's just going back and forth. And eventually the Bengals just pull away. But I actually see this one being like 35-24 something. I could see it being a similar final score to the Chargers Broncos last week.
I got Cincinnati as well. Something I'm really looking at for this game is Pat Surtain going to follow Chase around the field, or is he going to also pick up T. Higgins, right? I don't know off the top of my head if Pat Surtain consistently shadows. I'd imagine he does. If he's going to shadow Jamar Chase, I think this could be a really big T. Higgins game where he goes for over 100 and scores. I also think Chase Brown is going to have to be instrumental for this Bengals offense here. I'm not going to put faith in the Bengals defense to get the stops that they need. It's going to have to be Joe Burrow doing Joe Burrow things. I think he does do Joe Burrow things here, but I'm looking at T. Higgins in this one to have a big game.
I could see T doing that. I could see T doing that.
Hey, T burned a lot of people 2 weeks ago. Had a pretty good game this week. Granted, Jamar Chase also had a phenomenal week. It was a little bit of that breakdown play, the free play where he did catch that long bomb. But I mean, Chase has 16 touchdowns this year. That's crazy for a receiver. But I got T. Higgins this week as the guy who's going to score.
All right, let's see what happens, huh? Let's see what happens.
Arizona at 7-8 at the Los Angeles Rams, who are 9-6. Our Saturday night game, 8 p.m. The Rams a 5.5-point favorite with a 48.5-point total. It wasn't the sexiest win for the Rams this past weekend. However, that was played in the Meadowlands. And how cold was it, Reagan? 20 degrees? 15 degrees?
I think the feel at the stadium was like negative something. It was so cold. It was
That's
so
brutal.
cold.
But hey, they're back in LA for this one, so let's expect some more points from this Rams team. Cooper Kupp with another dud last week. Kyron Williams was awesome, though. Puka Nacua, not his best game, but I expect this Rams passing attack to bounce back against the Cardinals. Kyler Murray's been struggling. Now they're officially eliminated. I could see the Cardinals just packing it up here. I love the Rams at 5.5. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's exactly how I see it. I just feel like the Cardinals, like the way they lost last week and getting eliminated is just so defeating, especially where going into their bye week, they kind of, really had a good stronghold on the division where it's like, you really do control your own destiny. And they just, didn't take their destiny the way it should have been taken. They've lost a lot of games. I feel like that locker room is going to be lost. And where the Rams, they really have been playing good football. So I think they dominate here. I think big Puka game, big Kyron game. I just think it's one of those classic Rams offensive games where they're just having their way. McVay's got the whole playbook on, just drawing up a bunch of cool plays and just having their way with this Cardinals defense.
We're on the same page there. Your Jets are at the Buffalo Bills Sunday now, the 1 o'clock slate. I do have a bone to pick with schedule makers. There's 6 1 o'clock games, 2 4 o'clock games. It would have been nice to add another game to the 4 o'clock slate, but, it is what it is. Your Jets are 10-point underdogs here with a 46.5-point total. I'm not going to lie. I know the Jets just lost by 10 to the Rams, but with the Patriots only losing by 3 to Buffalo, I was surprised to see 10, given the talent on the Jets roster. Your thoughts here? Do your Jets cover?
I ultimately do have my Jets covering here because, at the end of the day, while our record might not show it, we've been in a lot of games. Most of the games usually do come down to the fourth quarter where, the Jets got a chance at the end, or it's like, hey, if our defense gets a stop here, we win the game. We never do. But with that being said, it's 10 points. So if that were to happen, that would mean we covered. So I do think we cover in this division game. I think at the end of the day, we get enough star power to cover. But the Bills will get it done. I mean, we don't win games. We just like to play them close and act like we're a good team when we're not.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have said it any better myself as a not a Jets fan, but let's be honest, Aaron Rodgers, you'd think a veteran quarterback like him, they would have more wins in these close games, particularly in the fourth quarter. It's just really strange they haven't gotten it done. They're just a team that can't seem to close games. It seems like dudes have kind of packed it in. And, like Rodgers said, we'll see who's bought in for next year and who's not. I mean, we don't even know if Rodgers is going to play next year. He said that as well. So who knows? Rodgers kind of playing both sides of the coin there. But yeah, I don't see the Bills losing. They're 7-0 at home. The Jets aren't going to come into Buffalo and get this win, but 10 points is a lot for me with the talent in the Jets, and Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers have turned back the clock the last few weeks, although it hasn't really translated to a bunch of wins. They did get one win, but they have the firepower and offense to get it done. Brees Hall has been as effective with dealing with the knee. This is a good matchup though against the Bills, and I'm going to need him in a fantasy championship. So I'm really rooting hard for Brees Hall here. I think the Jets will keep it close, but ultimately Josh Allen just has his sights set on bigger things than the Jets do. So Josh Allen and the Bills get the win here. However, 10 points is too much for my liking.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Vegas at 3-12 at the 5-9 Saints. Saints a 1.5 favorite, 39.5 point total. Very low. This is an ugly game. I mean, we'll just see it on Red Zone a little bit. I mean, if you got Brock Bowers in fantasy, it's really the only piece I see on a championship roster at this point coming from this game. Maybe your spot starting Kendre Miller. You're desperate. I don't know. Not a game I'm necessarily tuned into, but hey, Antonio Pierce said, we don't give a shit about the draft pick. We don't give a shit about your fantasy team. We just want to win. We just want to win games. That's what we're here for. You know what? I could totally see the Raiders winning another one and just catapulting themselves down the draft board when they desperately need a quarterback. I know the Saints have been a better team this year, but with all the injuries, we'll see tonight how big of a fight they put up with the Packers. If they battle with the Packers, maybe I switch my tune on this one. But I could just see Antonio Pierce winning a game to screw the Raiders even more. That's ultimately why I took the Raiders. I took them last week because I'm like, you know what? I'm rooting for the Raiders. I think they could beat the Jaguars. I'm just going to pick the Raiders. Similar here. Let's just see it happen with Antonio Pierce.
I'm taking the Saints. I mean, I would have taken whoever's home at this matchup, but the Saints defense does play a lot better at home. And the team has played, honestly, a lot better with a lot less talent ever since Rizzi has taken over. I mean, the guys do play for him, and it's pretty clear. Like you saw last week in that Commanders game, a lot of teams would roll over, but Spencer Rattler came in. He kept them in the game. That defense stepped up big, and they had a shot at the end of the game, not only to, you know, put the game in the overtime, which they could have gone to overtime. But I don't hate it because at the end of the day, like your season's over. So like, why not go for two? You have all the momentum, whatever. They did, but we may be looking at this matchup a little bit differently if they win last week. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Tonight will be very telling about this team, but they play hard for Rizzy. So where the Raiders, I mean, you beat the Jaguars, but that's a really bad team. We really haven't seen them compete a ton. I mean, I guess the Chiefs they were close with, but I don't know. I mean, but it is a battle of two teams that I guess can play tough, but ultimately I'm going to go with the Saints here at home.
Yeah, I can't really fault you. This is an ugly game, a tough game to pick. But
Coin flip.
Coin flip. Absolutely a coin flip. All right, the Colts are at my New York Football Giants for a chance at history. The first team to go 0-9 at home in NFL history. Colts at 7-8. Nice win last week for them. Jonathan Taylor, I mean, nice that he was on your bench, Reagan, running for 218 and 3 touchdowns. That's what I said. I was like, hey, give me the ground game from the Colts here, JT and Richardson. Richardson's been scoring touchdowns left and right. So I could see a similar pattern here against the Giants after Bijan just punched 2 in. The Colts are an 8-point favorite here at MetLife Stadium with an over-under of 40.5. This game just gives me PTSD vibes right around the holidays. 2022, the Giants clinched their playoff berth with a big ass beating over the Colts. I think the coin's going to flip here. I see a Colts ass beating over the Giants. Drew Lock's throwing shoulder getting an MRI done today. We could be going back to Tommy DeVito. The roulette of quarterbacks continues here. If it's Tommy DeVito, there's no way in hell the Giants win this game. But you kind of like the Giants to cover? You're still going to keep picking them to cover?
I do like the Giants because of that stat that you said. They will become the first team to ever be 0-9 at home. They know that. You think the players don't know that? No player wants that on their resume. So I think they will do enough to compete in this game where I don't think the Colts are a very good team. Their record, they may have 7 wins. They might still be alive in the playoff hunt. But I think the defense can do enough, and Anthony Richardson will struggle enough that the Giants can get a cover here. Ultimately, the Colts will do enough to win, but I think the Giants will make this game ugly, and the Colts will play down to their competition, and it'll be the fourth quarter, and we're like, whoa, the Giants are leading, or whoa, this game's tied right now, and we got a ball game on our hands. So give me the 8 points for the Giants, but the Colts win.
Yeah, I hope you're wrong. I really don't want to sweat this one out for our draft pick. This is the first time I've ever openly rooted against my team in the 25 years I've been alive. So I don't want to be in this position again. Just lose and get your goddamn quarterback, please. I can tell you exactly how this game's going to go. Giants might get up 3-0 in the first quarter. Defense looks pretty good. It goes 3-0 in the second quarter. Jonathan Taylor busts off a long one. He scores. Richardson barely completes any passes, but he converts third downs with his legs. You look in the second half, you're like, oh, wow, Colts are up 24-3, 24-10. And that's how it's going to go. Malik Neighbor is going to have 13 targets, catch 8 balls for 60-something yards. Tyrone Tracy dealing with an ankle. I don't know if he's going to play, but he'll have a decent day if he does. If not, Singletary have a little bit less of a decent day. And DeVito is going to turn the ball over twice and get sacked 4 times, and that's going to be your game. I hope I'm right. Dallas at Philadelphia. 7-8 for the Cowboys. Don't look now. Don't look now. Having a pretty decent year, given that your starting quarterbacks missed the majority of it with a torn hamstring. Eagles at 12-3. But we don't know the status of Jalen Hurts, if he's going to clear the protocol in time. It could be Kenny Pickett time. Eagles are a 9.5-point favorite, though, with a 43.5 total. Vegas doesn't give a shit if it's Kenny Pickett or Jalen Hurts. Vegas doesn't give a shit the Cowboys have been hot. That's a fat spread, dude, 9.5. What are you thinking here?
And I give a shit. I think Jalen Hurts will probably sit because they're going to be like, look, like we just screwed our chances for that 1 seed. Now we're just playing for the 2 seed at this point. We'll let them sit. We still can take care of business in week 18, where I believe they play the Giants. And yeah, I actually think the Cowboys not only cover, but they win. This is a team that is playing good football right now on both sides of the ball. They need this win to keep their playoff hopes alive. And I think the Eagles are due for their classic, little mini spiral where everyone's like, whoa, 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 what's going on with the Eagles? Like, fire Sirianni, fire Sirianni. So they're due for one of those, little spirals. And I think ultimately, like, if Kenny Pickett is to go, like, this Dallas defense is good enough to, cause some turnovers, to get some takeaways. And yeah, I like the way Cooper Rush has been playing. Honestly, I like the way the Cowboys have been playing as a recent. So give me the fat spread and give me the upset win.
That's crazy you're calling that upset, particularly with the status of CeeDee Lamb banged up that shoulder again. He's a tough dude, though. I'd imagine he's going to play, but you're drawing Quinyon Mitchell in this one, which, I mean, CeeDee Lamb's a better player, don't get me wrong, but it is a tough matchup for any receiver, given the way Quinyon has played this year. You were all over that, by the way, preseason. Quinyon going to be a beast. He's probably not going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. I mean, he's in the running, but, it seems like Jared Verse is kind of getting the love right now. The pass rushers always do.
Yeah.
But you were all over that one. If you want to check the odds on that, I'd be curious. But
yeah,
I'm going to go with
you go on your rant.
I'm going to go with the Cowboys to cover the 9.5, the Eagles to win the game. Even if it's Kenny Pickett, I don't care. The Eagles are at home. They're 6-1 at home. Actually, the Cowboys are 5-2 on the road, which is crazy. But I'm going to go. Yeah, I still think with Saquon Barkley and that offensive line and what they have their sights set on, and there's also momentum factor here. You just lost a division game. You don't want to lose another. And then it's like, oh, if you're playing for what in week 18? And it's like, oh, let's just sit our guys. And then you could potentially drop one to the lowly Giants because you're just benching guys. I mean, they lost the Giants in week 18 last year. Now, granted, Barkley was a huge part of that for the Giants side. But it's not out of the question if they lose here to Dallas without Hurts, where it's like, okay, let's just get our guys ready. And then you kind of lose all your momentum heading to the playoffs. So I think they really want to avoid that. I think Barkley and that offensive line really want the rushing record. They're going to set themselves up for that in week 18. So with the state of the Dallas offense with CeeDee Lamb beat up, given how good the Eagles defense has been all year, I know last week it wasn't great against the Commanders, but that's a different ball game. I'm going to go with the Eagles get the win here at home behind Saquon Barkley in that rushing attack.
Yeah, I'm not seeing odds anywhere. One thing that stuck out to me, though, TJ Watt minus 250 to win the DPOY. Next 3 best odds, Pat Surtain plus 350. Nick Bonito plus 1,500.
I saw that too.
And Xavier
Bonito.
McKinney plus 1,800. So those are
That's a
your
board
top
where you're
4
like,
guys.
you're not thinking about that before the season. You're thinking TJ Watt's definitely up there,
Yeah.
but Nick Bonito,
And
Xavier
then
McKinney, you're not thinking
yeah.
that. Maybe even Pat Surtain as a corner, like, you could. He's certainly in the conversation for the best corner in the league, but you'd think those pass rushers would dominate it. But yeah, I mean that's a crazy board. I do think TJ Watt will probably get it just because he has those impactful plays, the strip sacks. Like it seems like every time you look up, there's another TJ Watt strip sack on a Sunday. But all right, let's move on. Your
I
Carolina
would say
Panthers.
I was just gonna say McKinney might be worth a sprinkle like before tonight's game because if he gets a pick or two like on the primetime game, I mean that'll only change the odds going in tomorrow morning.
It's a good point. It's a good point. If you see Xavier McKinney snagging a couple picks, I mean, obviously people are listening to this the day after, but just know we did say it. McKinney has a pick 6 tonight, maybe another pick. He's getting up there. Your Panthers at 4-11 at the 8-7 Buccaneers. Tampa Bay an 8-point favorite. It's a fat spread, 49.5-point total. I do like to see that though. Tell me why you're taking your Panthers to cover, and are you taking them to win?
I'm not taking them to win. No, I am taking them to cover. I mean, they've been playing good ball. That's a fat spread, but ultimately here, I mean, the Bucks just need this win much more. They are the much better team, so I think they handle it. But I think with it being a division game and as close as it was last year or last time, and how good the Panthers have been playing recently, 8 points is disrespectful to me. So sure, I'll take it. I will 100% take it. I just don't know if they, ultimately have enough firepower to, overcome the Bucks on the road.
I'm also going to take Carolina to cover, but Tampa Bay to win. Another thing where it's at this point of the season, the Panthers are just trying to play spoiler, where Tampa Bay is in that division race. They'll understand the importance of this game. They have those veterans in the locker room that will know that. But I don't like the way Tampa Bay's played on defense in the back end and the way Bryce Young has looked. I think they could do enough through the air to keep up with Tampa Bay and at least make it a close game. Chuba Hubbard's been an absolute dog recently. This is a tougher matchup for him, but ultimately, I still have enough faith in Carolina to score enough on this Tampa Bay defense. But then again, I could see, Mike Evans only had 69 yards last night's game, which, by the way, I didn't tell you. Zach and I had a
70,
player. Yeah, we had 70. Player prop parlay, 7 legs throughout the entire slate of the games. We're like, holy shit, we got to the night slate. We had CeeDee Lamb, 60. Mike Evans, 70. CeeDee Lamb hit that. Matt Early had that monster catch. Evans was pacing for it. I fell asleep, woke up like 10 minutes later, and I was like, the game's over. And I looked and saw he had 69 yards. We lost by a yard. And I was like, oh. But Evans is not on a surefire pace for 1,000 anymore.
Yeah, he needs 91 a game now.
I still think he gets it done, though. I think he goes over 100 here. Tampa Bay's offense is too good. The resurgence of Jalen McMillan is awesome to see as well. And Bucky Irving's just a dog. So I think Bucky Irving, the last time they played Carolina, I think he ran for like 150 yards. So I just think Tampa Bay's got too much firepower for this Carolina defense. Tennessee at 3-12 at the 3-12 Jags. Jags a point favorite. 40.5-point total. Another one, man. Flip a coin. Mac Jones versus Mason Rudolph. Whatever wants to do on their Sundays, watch that ball game. But we're sickos. We're going to watch it anyways. Which side of the coin did you
taking the Jags?
On?
This is pure like just anger towards the Titans and how every week I take them and they can, they'll be in it and then it's like all of a sudden they fall apart. Like the Titans are just like I put too much belief and stake into Brian Callahan and that team and I'm done. I don't care. Prove me wrong. I'll just take the Jaguars. I mean, the Titans just somehow get blown out and lose back. Like even the time they were like almost like a touchdown favorite against the Jaguars early in the year, they still managed to lose. So give me the Jags. I don't care. Titans just always lose.
Yeah, I picked the Titans for 2 reasons here. One, I saw you pick the Jags. I was like, all right, let's just go a little different from Reagan. 2, Calvin Ridley revenge game. This Jaguars secondary is Swiss cheese. Calvin Ridley going for 100 with Mason Rudolph at the helm, who he does play a lot better with Rudolph than Will Levis. So give me Calvin Ridley sticking it to his old team, having a big game. The Titans get one here. Miami at 7-8 at the 3-12 Browns. Another game that's meaningless with both teams being eliminated.
No, Miami's not out.
Oh, they're not. I thought they were out.
No, they're 7-8. They won.
I know, but I thought mathematically they were still out. But I guess they still have a breath of fresh air.
They do, yeah. They're like they're because the Bengals, the Colts are all 7-8. I mean, I don't think it's a high percentage, but I'm looking at ESPN. They're not out.
Okay. Well, the Dolphins have something to play for here. 6.5-point favorites, 40.5-point total. I know DTR got a little beat up here, so hopefully for everyone's sake, we get to watch Jameis Winston in the
Oh,
4 o'clock
why?
slate.
Oh, so why do they have only 2 4 o'clock games? Like, that's
I said
annoying.
that earlier. It's 2 4 o'clock games, and it's like you're
One, two,
basically saying,
three,
okay,
four,
everyone's gonna
five,
watch Packers
six.
Vikings
Eh,
anyways.
I
You know what
guess
I
6
mean?
1 o'clock games, so it's kind of tough.
5 and 3 would have been nice. You know,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
who wants to watch Miami Cleveland instead of Green Bay Minnesota? Right? It's just kind of like they're sticking another prime time game almost like another slot with Packers Vikings. But who
Okay.
you taking? You taking
Oh,
Miami?
I'm sorry. I'm taking the Dolphins too. Win, and I believe I had them covering. I
You do.
definitely had them covering. I don't
You
know
do.
why. As long as it's DTR, I'm going to have the Dolphins winning. So they'll probably blow them out here. We kind of saw last week, like, their defense was able to limit the Bengals at times, but their offense really could never get going. So I think it'll be a very similar story where, their defense will only be able to, contain Miami for so long where that offense just, won't be able to get anything done. I mean, you saw what happened to Jerry Judy. Nothing. Like, as soon as he loses Jameis
Yep.
Winston and you put in a bad quarterback. So, I have no confidence in the Browns offense in this one. And, their defense is going to, bend only so far till they break. So give me the Dolphins to win and cover here and dominate at home. Keep their
Yeah.
playoff hope alive by their own control.
Yep. Same thing for me. Devon Achan's gonna destroy this game. Fantasy playoff hero is Devon Achan. He drops over 30 last week, and he did not want to slide. No, when he could have slid and the game would have been mathematically over, he understood his mission was getting his fantasy owners that touchdown. So I very much appreciate it for having him in
I
one
didn't
league.
know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I
Yeah,
didn't know
no, it was
that.
under
That
2 minutes
sucks.
left, and that's when he had that long touchdown. He could have slid, it would have been over, and he cribbed it. So made it a little interesting.
Because
So
I'm
yeah.
in my Baytoff matchup, he had 8 chains. So, like, it could have been over if that happened too.
Yeah, it would have been wraps if that didn't happen.
Because the
100%.
Packers, I mean, I guess not officially, because Packers could still put up. I've seen defenses put up in the 30s before, low 30s.
Yeah. I mean, I know like Anthony's league
Ouch.
has different defensive settings where they juice up their points, but Atlanta did just get me 33 in that league, so that was pretty cool. It was definitely instrumental in my win. But yeah, I'm going to take Miami here. I hope we get to see Jameis. I know he was the third emergency quarterback this past Sunday. I don't know if he was dealing with, clearly was dealing with some type of injury. I don't know what the reason was for Jameis. I mean, he at least brought some energy to this team. At least they were scoring some points, So I'd like to see that in this Miami game because it has the potential to be a shootout. But yeah, I mean, come on. I'm not taking the Cleveland Browns led by DTR. Now, the fun game on the slate, the 10-4 Packers at the 13-2 Vikings. Minnesota's a 1.5 favorite, 48.5 total. Awesome, awesome game. Although it doesn't really mean much for Green Bay in terms of positioning. I mean, I guess you want to stay above the Commanders, but, they don't have no path of winning the North. Minnesota, on the other hand, needs this one to set up a date with Detroit. So where'd you go with here, man?
I went with Minnesota. Ultimately, they've actually won 8 straight. They haven't lost since they lost to the Lions. So I'm done doubting this team. And we've seen Green Bay lose to the Vikings already this year. But I just think Minnesota, like with those weapons, I just think it ultimately came down to what offense do I like better. And while I like Love better than Darnold, I like Darnold's weapons a lot more than I like Love's weapons. So give me the Vikings here. I think this one could actually end up being a double-digit win.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I like the Packers here.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, I like the Packers here. I saw a stat, and I don't have the exact
Yeah.
numbers in front of me, but Jordan Love posted the ToyotaThon today on his Instagram. Toyota sponsorship. If you look at Jordan Love's splits inside and outside of ToyotaThon, it's crazy. His touchdown interception ratio in ToyotaThon is like 17-2, and the Packers don't lose. Outside of ToyotaThon, it's like a 26-22 touchdown interception ratio. I know Minnesota got it earlier in the year. I think Packers are going to split with them. Both teams very similarly matched, in my opinion. Both similar styles, good backs, great. Minnesota's receivers are certainly better. Great offensive lines. I'm gonna go with the Packers. I don't know, dude. This is another hell of a game where you could pick either side, and I'm cool with it. But give me Jordan Love and ToyotaThon to get it done. It is Aaron Jones' revenge game, though.
He's in love with love.
It is Aaron Jones' revenge game, though, and I don't think he scored in the game earlier this year, so I think he will score in this one on the Minnesota side.
Big dogs.
He could be. He won't be juicy enough, I might go with the juicy route again.
Okay.
We'll see. I'll craft. The night game. Sunday night, 8-7 Falcons at the 10-5 Commanders. Commanders a 4-point favorite, 47.5 point total. This game got a lot more juicy with Atlanta winning, Tampa Bay losing, Commanders monster win over the Eagles. They're flying high right now, but you expect them to come down to earth in this game. Tell me why.
Yeah, I ultimately, you know, I like the way the Falcons are playing with Penix, and I know it's been one game, but from all the highlights I got to see, because like I said, I was at the Jet game, he just looked like he had that offense playing better. And half of that is you're playing the Giants, who are right now the worst team in football, and half of that is he's just better than Kirk. So I think this is a matchup they can play well in. I think the defense has, been pretty good all year. It's a lot of been, a lot of the issues they've had is this, turnovers in the red zone, not putting points in, giving teams short field. So if Penix can play smart with the ball, they can get Bijan to continue to roll here. I think they can get it done against the Commanders. So I am taking the Falcons for the upset win and a huge win that basically locks them into the division win.
I'm also taking Atlanta. Part of this might be preseason. I had the Falcons win this division, and I'm hoping they get it done because my preseason picks were not great. Did not expect the Commanders to be here. But after such a big win against Philadelphia and they're riding high, I could totally see him come back down to earth here and having a dud. And Michael Penix outduels Jaden Daniels on Sunday Night Football after Jaden Daniels is being gifted the Offensive Rookie of the Year, which rightfully so. He should win the Offensive Rookie of the Year. But Penix would be like, not so fast, dude. I know I just started playing, but I'm coming too. And I could see Michael Penix making some big-time throws. Saquon just destroyed this Commanders defense, as he usually does. But Bijan's been riding hot. I could see him putting up a similar stat line to what Saquon just did. Give me the upset with the Atlanta Falcons. Right there with you.
Yeah, I mean, there's also a world where this game, really doesn't matter as much for the Commanders because, right now they still have an outside chance to win the division. But if the Eagles win early on, then they're really only fighting for, and also if the Bucks lose too, if the Bucks and the Seahawks lose, like, and they clinch a playoff spot before this game even happens, like this game might only really matter for, the outside chance of them moving up to the 6th seed. And even then that really might be locked up with Green Bay. So there's a chance that they're locked into the 7th seed with nothing to play for even coming into this game. So
that would be nuts. I hope that doesn't happen so the game has some more juice, but
yeah,
it could happen.
There's a chance where this game actually doesn't matter for the Commanders at all.
All right, Reagan, let's move on to Monday Night Football. This game, ESPN was licking their chops. We got Lions, 49ers in Week 17. That's awesome. It should be two teams jockeying for the number 1 seed. But no. No. The 13-2 Lions, who are 7-0 on the road, going at the 6-9 49ers, 4-4 at home. Niners eliminated from playoff contention with their loss to Miami this past weekend. Lions only a 3.5-point favorite here, though. At least the point total is high, 51.5. I'm all over Detroit here. I don't see how you can back the Niners right now with a season that just has fallen apart. They got a lot of locker room issues going on right now. Thank God Devondre Campbell's out of there, but still a team that just – it's a lost season for San Francisco. I don't know how you can justify taking them to beat the Detroit Lions here when the Lions are still gunning for that number 1 seed. And potentially you could have the Eagles, if they take care of business, still right up their ass. And then, you got Minnesota next week. So Detroit's still got a lot to play for. I don't care about their injuries. Give me the Lions here all day.
Yeah, no, same thing with me. I agree. It's just, what does San Francisco have to play for at this point where, the Lions are trying to lock up the 1 seed. So I just think this line is just respecting that San Fran still has a lot of talent on that team. Obviously, they're at home in this one, but I'm just going to take the Lions to steamroll here. I have no confidence in the Niners, and nor should you. I mean, they get a lot of respect. They're similar to my Jets, where they get the respect every week based off of the the talent on the roster. But I mean, really, there's no reason the Lions should be like only 3.5-point favorites. I mean, it seems like this line should be a lot bigger. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's just giving Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers some respect from what they've done and who they still have on paper. Weird line, but yeah, I think the Lions roll here.
Yeah, I hope it's not trappy. It does feel a little trappy at 3.5, but
I just don't want to get cute with it. Like, yeah, there's a world that happens, but I'm like, you know what? Like, at the end of the day, like, why would I have any confidence to take the Niners at this point?
100%. I agree. All right, that wraps up our Week 16 recap, hybrid, Week 17 predictions. We appreciate you tuning in. Please like and subscribe. Enjoy the holidays with your family. The best time of the year for football. We'll be back next week. Reagan, last words.
Hey, let's go win some fantasy championships. Let's go get some good presents. Let's go give out some good presents. If you're looking for some last minute presents, hit us up. We'll get you an Around the Felt crew neck, and you could give it to someone, put it under the tree. What do you say? What do you say?
Who?
All right, that was insane. All right, let's end this.